I submit that Georgia is one too. And Amazon is proud to help build this state's bright future alongside all of you. So now it is my great honor to introduce the man who coined the phrase, the group project, my fellow Mays High Raider alum, the Honorable Andre Dickens, the 61st Mayor of Atlanta.
Hey, who's the DJ? I like that. Thank you, Sandy, for that introduction. Thank you to the Georgia Chamber for allowing us all to be here today. And good morning to everyone. This is a beautiful sight to see from end zone to end zone of this wonderful arena is nothing but leadership that I see from where I stand. It's always an honor to welcome you, the state leaders, the lawmakers, the business and civic partners to this annual kickoff breakfast. I would like to acknowledge all of our elected leaders in this building today and those that will be joining us throughout this morning. Of course, Governor Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Jones, Speaker Burns, who I share a table with, and all of the members of the Georgia General Assembly that are here today. Welcome to these leaders who've come from every corner of this great state to be a part of this tradition. Atlanta is proud to be your host each session and to be the place where every leader, no matter the party affiliation, that they can come together to do the work of the people. And many of you, as she just stated, have heard that I call Atlanta a group project. And we are doing some great things here in the city together. I have several city council members out there. I saw Council Member Juan and Winston, and there may be others. But we certainly can't do all of our work alone. I'd really like to thank the governor and the whole team of our colleagues and agencies like GDOT, GEMA, and the Georgia State Patrol, as well as our regional partners and many of you that are here today. We have had several opportunities to show up for each other during my administration, and it is always a good reminder of how valuable partnerships and collaborations can be. Last week, I had the pleasure of welcoming a new Atlanta City Council president, as well as 3 new members joining the council this year. We talked about the work ahead and acknowledged that although we will not always agree on every issue that we face, we will always operate with mutual respect and putting the needs of the people first. And it is that mindset that also has allowed Atlanta and the state to work together in ways that strengthen our city as well as the communities across Georgia. And now we are preparing to welcome the world to Atlanta as we host the FIFA World Cup games. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, this beautiful facility, will be home to 8 matches, as you heard Dan Corso say, including a semifinal. We expect hundreds of thousands of visitors. Early estimates predict the matches will generate hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity. This will support jobs as well as small businesses across Metro Atlanta. This is also our opportunity to showcase our innovation economy, our creativity, and of course, our Southern hospitality, just as we did during the 1996 Olympic Games. The World Cup matches are just one part of the year ahead. We will continue to break new ground when it comes to affordable housing, public safety, transit expansion, and infrastructure issues. I mentioned earlier that Atlanta is a group project. Well, often the group extends beyond our city's borders. All of us here this morning are connected in some manner. We may come from different parts of the state, but we share a commitment to the people and the businesses in our communities. We all share a vision of prosperity and safety for those we represent. We cannot move Atlanta forward if Georgia's not also moving forward too. So as you prepare to do the work of this legislative session, know that we are right down the street from you, really across the street from you, and always prepared to work with you. So welcome back to Atlanta, and here's to a productive session. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's an honor to be with you today. Eggs and Issues is always one of my favorite events because it brings together leaders dedicated to advancing Georgia. Mayor Dickens, your energy is genuinely contagious. We appreciate your leadership and the positive momentum you bring to this city. Governor Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Jones, Speaker Burns, and all of the public officials here today, thank you for your dedication to Georgia and for your work creating an atmosphere so welcoming of investment and innovation, an environment that continues to make Georgia the #1 state in the nation to do business. I also want to thank the Chamber, Chris Clark and Ed Elkins especially, for strengthening Georgia's business climate and promoting prosperity in communities all across our state. AT&T is proud to be a longtime supporter of the Chamber and its mission. At AT&T, connecting people to greater possibility has been our purpose for nearly 150 years. We truly believe in the power of connection, and that goes well beyond the infrastructure we deploy. It's in the connections that we make for others, whether it's a phone call to a loved one, the fiber that makes telemedicine possible for patients, or the lifeline that first responders depend on in an emergency. Reliable connectivity is our priority, especially in the moments that matter most. Connecting the public safety community is a special responsibility, and we are incredibly proud to work with the FirstNet Authority to operate the first and only nationwide network dedicated to first responders. One of the most differentiating features of FirstNet is the fleet of deployable assets available to public safety at no cost to public safety. This morning, you may have noticed FirstNet assets as you arrived. These are just a few of our over 190 deployables in our dedicated fleet, a fleet that includes cells on wings, amphibious vehicles, and trained therapy dogs, all available at a moment's notice. At AT&T, we are proud to support first responders, and we appreciate state leaders prioritizing public safety and supporting modernized emergency solutions that keep our communities safe. As Georgia continues to grow, so do the connectivity needs of our communities and our businesses. Over the last 5 years alone, AT&T invested nearly $17 billion in our Georgia networks. We are committed to providing the networks that keep Georgia thriving today and in the future. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and for all you do for Georgia.
Well, thank you. Let's have another round of applause for Mayor Andre Dickens, who's working diligently every day for the people of Metro Atlanta. Thank you. Now, before I get to the tremendous year that we've had as a chamber, I want to share an exciting update on behalf of my company, Norfolk Southern. We recently announced intentions to create America's first coast-to-coast freight rail network with Union Pacific. If approved by federal regulators, this historic deal will transform American transportation and will benefit Georgia. From Savannah to inland hubs in Atlanta and Macon, the Peach State connects American businesses to global markets. And with this merger, Georgia would become an eastern gateway for a unified rail corridor stretching from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific, creating a faster, more efficient American supply chain. Now, our roots run deep. Just since 2021, Norfolk Southern has invested over $1 billion in the state of Georgia, including $200 million annually in infrastructure and $32 million in community contributions. Our combined company will continue to make smart investments and meaningful philanthropic contributions in Georgia. I want to be clear, this state is essential to the success of our coast-to-coast network, and we're not pulling up track. As a matter of fact, in some areas, we're adding more track, like the Georgia Port Authority's Blue Ridge Connector, which opens this year in 2026. A transcontinental railroad will give all rail-served Georgia businesses a competitive edge in capturing new markets. And we want to share a heartfelt thank you to this community here. You've always embraced rail as a part of this state's history. And in 2021, you embraced a large cohort of Norfolk Southern team members, including myself, who moved for our headquarters location here in Atlanta. We built families, lives, and careers in this city, and you opened your arms to us and welcomed us here. Now, since then, we've been lucky to hire even more Georgians. And make no mistake, thousands of Georgians across the state will remain a part of this combined company's future as we evolve to serve Georgia and America better. So thank you very much for your support. Now, let's talk about the extraordinary progress that we've made together as a chamber and look ahead at the incredible opportunities that lie before us. I have to say, 2025 was an outstanding and very busy year. And it would be wrong for me to move forward if I didn't say the following. There's one person who would not ask for our thanks or our recognition, but is at the epicenter of this work. Would you all please join me in a heartfelt thanks to Chris Clark, whose leadership has soundly guided this organization for 16 years now. Thank you, Chris. At this event last year, we launched Georgia 2050, our long-term vision to continue to build a stronger, smarter, and more competitive Georgia. That plan guided our policy, events, and our advocacy efforts. And we spent a great deal of time this year deepening our partnerships with local chambers and the Georgia Emergency Management Authority to strengthen disaster and emergency planning work that will only grow more critical in the years ahead. The team traveled thousands of miles this year, working on the ground in more than 70 counties and in our nation's capital. Time and again, we delivered our unique brand of business intelligence, our timely political updates, and our policy insights to local leaders and to members across the state. We served our members, small business owners, globally recognized brands, entrepreneurs, and industry partners, and engaged with more than 161 local chambers and community organizations to help strengthen our economy in every single corner of Georgia. Our press and social media numbers show that Georgia Chamber priorities were consistently showing up where Georgia's business community already engages. And while individual readership varies by the outlet, our announcement and advocacy were picked up nearly thousands of times across local, regional, and national media outlets. Collectively, these outlets represent a combined potential audience of nearly 20 billion. reflecting the scale of platforms carrying Georgia's business voice. On social media, our content generated more than 27 million impressions, which sounds like a lot, reinforcing our role as a trusted source of business and policy information across the state. We hosted the first National Civics Bee state competition and sent Caden to DC, doubling down on developing the next generation of leaders who understand democracy, service, and free enterprise. You should really be proud of that effort. We recognize Sean Cooper as our Blanchard Servant Leader of the Year and W.C. Bradley as our Corporate Citizen of the Year. Two great examples of what our business community does inside our local communities. And we launched the coolest thing made in Georgia with over 130 nominations, more than 200,000 votes over 6 rounds, generating more than 2 million media impressions. Our friends at Lockheed Martin won for the C-130J Super Hercules. Nominations will be open this summer for the next round. We can't wait to see what product wins this year, quite frankly. Thank you to Synovus for continuing your partnership with us in this program. Our foundation helped us navigate the ever-changing tariff and global trade landscape while our government affairs team worked hard in Washington, addressing global headwinds on behalf of your business. But our biggest breakthrough? Well, the first meaningful lawsuit abuse reform in a generation. And I have to tell you, this didn't happen by accident. It happened because Governor Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Jones, Speaker Burns, and Commissioner King stood with Georgia consumers, citizens, and businesses and said, enough is enough. And yes, we're already seeing insurance rates stabilize and carriers start to return to Georgia, and that's real impact. That's real leadership. To all of you who made calls, who testified and stood with us, thank you. Now, please join me in thanking the governor and those legislators who voted to support these efforts. Would you please stand? Now, as you might suspect, I could go on and on this morning, but I feel like tort reform should be a mic drop, and I think Chris agrees. So now, it's my honor to pass the gavel to a leader that I admire, the first manufacturer to chair this organization in more than 30 years. Stuart Countess has served as president and CEO of Kia Georgia and has given years of incredible service to the Georgia Chamber and dozens of other organizations around the state. He has a true passion for corporate citizenship, for workforce development, and for job creation. Please join me in welcoming our new 2026 chairman, Stuart Countess. Stuart, it's been a pleasure working with you this last year. I've got to know you. Not only are you a great business leader, but you're a really good golfer. I appreciate both those things. And I can't wait to see what you achieve this year.
Thank you, Ed. Your leadership, especially on tort reform, has moved Georgia forward in a very significant way. I appreciate your humility this year and your service during a transformative year for your own company. We're excited for our continued engagement with Norfolk Southern for a long time. Please accept this as a token of our appreciation. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our 2026 Executive Committee, the leaders helping to drive your vision for Georgia's future. Ed Elkins will continue to serve as the immediate past chair. Kim Green will serve as vice chair. Beth Lowry will join the board as chair of our foundation. Jim Chastain will continue as MIWA chair. Shane Jackson will continue as the Free Enterprise Fund chair. Emmy Howard will continue as operations chair. And Boyd Pettit will finish his term as chair of the Government Affairs Council. Sam Good and Matt Reed will join us to fill our at-large slots. Thank you to all of you for your service. The committee's mission this year is simple: keep Georgia's momentum going. And the heart of that is people, relationships, talent, and innovation. My focus this year is to continue our efforts in workforce development and ensure that every Georgian understands the value of economic development. Let me just share a few simple facts. Georgia is home to more than 3,200 international facilities from more than 50 countries. They employ more than 241,000 Georgians. Last year alone, foreign-owned firms invested $7.3 billion in Georgia, making it one of the strongest years for foreign direct investment on record. In the previous 5 years, this equates to $35 billion of investment in Georgia communities and Georgia employees. A special thanks to Governor Kemp and Commissioner Pat Wilson for constantly traveling the world to tell them that Georgia is open for business and that we want your investment. In manufacturing, a point close to my heart, we remain a powerhouse, contributing over $84 billion in added value to Georgia's economy, supporting more than 8,000 manufacturing companies statewide, while employing 427,500 Georgians. It's no accident that Kia moved here 20 years ago. It's no accident that Hyundai Motor Group has continued to invest and expand in the state. It's also no accident that both foreign and domestic investors want to call Georgia home. Georgia's the reason that Kia is proud to produce the brand new Telluride. You can see it on the sides of the stage. The outgoing generation of the Telluride took the world by storm when it launched in 2019. And this second generation will be another long line in a history of products made by Kia Georgia and Georgia citizens. The 2027 Telluride is a capable and sophisticated SUV that embodies Kia's approach to bringing innovative, customer-focused products to market. And for the first time, the Telluride will be available in a turbocharged hybrid powertrain. Once again, the first HEV built in the state of Georgia. Another significant milestone for a plant in West Georgia that gives us more flexibility to respond to consumer demand as we build traditional internal combustion projects, electric vehicles, and now hybrid electric vehicles on a single production line. We're showing every day exactly what Georgia manufacturing is capable of through innovation, precision, and world-class jobs. To continue this kind of growth, we are focused on building and maintaining crucial relationships. That's why we're happy to welcome all the consul generals who are joining us today. Thank you for being here. Your partnerships help fuel our growth as a state, and we value your country's investment in the state of Georgia. An essential part of those relationships is how we grow the next generation of talent. That will be a critical focus for me this year. We'll continue supporting national visa reform because talent and innovation are global. This February, we will host the first ever State of Higher Education, followed by regional workforce roundtables with GPEE and the College Board. We want to ensure that every Georgian is prepared for an AI-proof career path. Additionally, in 2026, we'll launch new statewide forums on the state of rural Georgia, the state of energy, the state of economic development, and this morning, our foundation is releasing the 2026 Red Book, your statewide economic dashboard. Be sure to scan the QR code that is behind me or is on your placemat at your table. It's going to be a busy year addressing your most pressing issues, but I'm excited about the year ahead and honored to serve each of your businesses. To share more about 2026 and the road to 2050, please welcome our President and CEO, Chris Clark.
Mayor, I agree. I almost broke into my James Brown impersonation there, but you don't want to see that this morning. Gosh, thank you all for being with us today. We appreciate it. And I want to really thank our executive committee who did an incredible job. We had a record year with sponsorships, record membership, record investment, and of course a record session last year. So another round of applause for our executive committee and Ed Elkins. Thank you so much, Ed. Also want to thank and welcome Stuart and our new executive committee. Stuart and I have been friends for a long time, and I'm excited about this partnership. You know, it's kind of appropriate as we think about Kia. It's 20 years ago. I actually snuck out of this event a few minutes early in order to get on a plane to go to continue those negotiations, Stuart, over 20 years ago. And now we see what Kia has been in this state, and it really matters. Thinking about that history during the holidays, I started thinking about the history of this event. So whether you like it or not, I'm going to give you a quick history lesson. You good? Too bad. I got the mic. So this event is historic. This is the 72nd Eggs and Issues breakfast. The first governor to speak at this breakfast was Herman Talmadge. So I think there's about 3 or 4 of you that were probably here for that event. We'll talk to you afterwards. At the time, here's what I do know about that event, because I read lots and lots of press releases from those first 20 years. I know that there was not a 45-minute wait outside in 30-degree weather to get inside. And for that, we apologize. In 1959, we actually invited our local chamber partners to become a part of Eggs and Issues, and today we feel like this is as much your event as it is our event. But when you look at that first event and you read the news reports about it, it was a very intentional meeting. And over the first 20 years, when I read the press clippings, there were 3 things that I read over and over again. Number 1 was that this event, and this, I'm going to quote this from the newspaper, was a humorous affair. I think we have lost the humor in this event. It's not my forte, but we'll work on bringing that back. The second thing that the papers always said was that this event was singularly the most gathering of influential elected leaders and business leaders in the state every year. And that is still the case today as you look around at the tables and the men and women in this room. Thank you for being here. The third thing that they said was the intention of this meeting was to make sure that the business community and elected leaders were working together on the same page in order to advance economic development and prosperity in a very different way than we had experienced it for those previous 50 years. And that's exactly what we continue to do with this event today. And in fact, at some point in one of the articles I read, they made this point in the 60s about the incredible economic success that Georgia was having, was that this event and this relationship between elected leaders and business leaders was really the secret sauce that made Georgia different and special. And I think that is still the secret sauce today as we work on some of the biggest issues facing this economy. That event, I think, this event 72 years ago, kind of the capstone of this relationship has been what Governor Kemp and Pat Wilson have been able to do for the last 6 years of record economic development, record recruitment, record expansions, record small business development. How about a round of applause for all of our economic developers that are in the room today? Thank you for what you do every single day. Here's the thing, this special sauce relationship that we have, this economic development effort, is more important today as it's ever been in the last 72 years. We just polled Georgians, and we heard what most of my politician friends in the room have heard from their pollsters. Georgians care about affordability right now. If you have a bingo card today, go ahead and check affordability off your list. We dug in deeper, though, and asked Georgians a little bit more. And what they told us overwhelmingly is that they support economic development, having the tools in the toolbox to recruit companies, help expansions, and help small businesses. It's what we want to do. That has to be our focus. And as we talked about last year, Georgia 2050 is our effort to do that. If you'll remember, we talked about our 5 pillars for Georgia's economy, making sure that we have regional prosperity and healthy communities, a talent and workforce that are prepared, the energy and infrastructure for the future, innovation, entrepreneurship, and that we remain competitive and we continue to do the work on economic development. Every project, every policy, every event that we have at the Georgia Chamber this year and years future will focus on those 5 things. And here's what's really fascinating. When I read some of those early gubernatorial remarks at this event, they talked about almost each one of those 5. So why are we still talking about them 72 years later? Because, y'all, that's the formula that makes Georgia work. We know that that's going to drive the economy long term. And so as we head into this legislative session, this Chamber of Commerce, all of our partners in the room, will focus on these 5 pillars. What does that look like? Well, first, it means that we will defend and continue to support lawsuit abuse. And again, a heartfelt thanks to all the General Assembly members here that helped pass that last year. It means that we want to make sure that we maintain a predictable tax environment in this state. I think about half the room use certain incentives and tools to move to Georgia, the other half to do their expansions. That has worked for us for a long time, and we want to make sure that we continue to incentivize the right kind of activity in the state. It means that, Lieutenant Governor, we're going to work with you on regulatory reform. We appreciate you carrying that banner every year. We're going to continue to work with the Speaker on literacy and workforce development. Ms. Dale, thank you for your leadership on that issue. It also means this year that we're going to help those companies and those sectors that have been hit hard right now. Let's be honest about it. We want to be there with our forestry partners, with our growers and our ag community who have faced some pretty stiff tariffs. We want to be there for our logistics companies and manufacturers, and we'll be bringing ideas to the General Assembly about how we help those sectors as we move through the year. Now, as we finish this legislative session, or before then actually, we'll be focused on the 2026 election cycle like all of you. How about this? If you're running for election this year, raise your hand. All right, that's about a third of the room. Can't wait. So what's our plan for this election season? Well, number one is to make sure that we've got the right relationships. That's why we've invited all these candidates today to spend time with you. You'll notice which ones are here and aren't. And so my hope is that you will all build relationships with the candidates, because whoever's elected, we want them to be successful. The second thing that we're doing is we're developing a set of policy blueprints based on those 5 pillars. And we're willing and ready at any time to come and sit down with anyone running for office to talk about what Georgia needs for the next 25 years to keep moving forward, to make sure that we're taking care of our children and our grandchildren. Let me pause a minute, though, and talk about one of those pillars in particular, and that's economic development and competitiveness. What does that mean? Well, it means that as we've done for the last 72 years, and in particularly since 1992, we continue to welcome and recruit new industry, manufacturers, logistics, headquarters, and companies from around the world. What Governor Kemp does all the time, traveling the world, we continue to welcome them to Georgia. We continue to welcome technology companies who are building out the modern infrastructure that every business in this room uses. It means that we continue to support small business, startups, family-owned businesses, and that we support all those different sectors that make the state's economy dynamic and vibrant. The other thing that we have to make sure that we do is allow businesses to thrive. And I was thinking about Governor Kemp the other day during the COVID period. Unlike most other states where the government put heavy regulations on business, told us what to do, what not to do, tried to dictate, the governor allowed businesses to thrive. He said, let you innovate, you figure it out, you make sure that the livelihoods of Georgia are as important, and that we're focused on that while we're trying to save lives. That's going back to that secret sauce of how business works together with our elected leaders. But as great as we've done in economic development, guys, we don't get to take our foot off the accelerator. I mean, just 2 things to think about. Number one, I have peers, and what they've told me is that they are continually trying to catch up and recruit businesses from Georgia or beat us out when we're recruiting companies. So Last few years, our friends of Texas have rewritten their business code, passed legal reform, and introduced a slew of new incentives. So is Alabama, North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, even Florida has rolled out new incentives to try to recruit businesses to town. So there's always someone in our rearview mirror that we need to keep an eye on. The second thing that we need to realize is that the economy is changing rapidly. We've already heard about some layoffs from some Georgia companies this year. We know that in a disruptive economy, some businesses will close, others will open, and every business will adjust and figure out how to manage AI and all the other tools that are out there. That's why that stable tax environment, that stable, that incredible is so vitally important for our economy. The other thing that's important for us is to remember that free enterprise matters. This chamber was founded to defend free enterprise in 1911 and to support economic development. We are unapologetic. No matter what happens in Europe or in New York or everywhere else, we believe in this room, I think, and whether Republicans or Democrats, we believe in the power of free enterprise, of free markets. That's what's going to drive down taxes. That's what's going to provide opportunities for my son Christian and your children and grandchildren long term. So we're going to work on all of these issues this year and as we go forward together with this formula and with this 72-year secret sauce. And here's what I know this morning, standing here in front of you, that no matter what happens globally, whatever uneasy markets there might be right now, the state of Georgia's economy is strong, resilient, and it continues to grow and outpace most of our neighbors and most of our competitors as we look around the world. And that economy is strong because of this partnership. So to the men and women in this room who are creating jobs and the ones that are providing the policy environments that allow us to do it, is a heartfelt thank you for this very special partnership. Thank you so much for what you do every single day. Now, to get on with our program, one of those other pillars is energy and infrastructure. We don't do any economic development if we're not able to power the next generation of makers, doers, builders, and growers. I'm so excited and I'm pleased that we're the envy of the country when it comes to how our utilities work together, keep the lights on, and respond during disasters. And it's why I'm so excited that our vice chair and next year's chair is Kim Green. Kim is the chairman, president, and CEO of Georgia Power. They are the epitome of corporate citizenship, a focus on economic development, and really being a leader everywhere they serve. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our vice chair, Kim Green. Thank you all. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. It is really an honor to be here and to take this role with the Georgia Chamber. And good morning to all of you. It's a privilege to be here with leaders who share one mission, building a stronger, more prosperous Georgia. For more than 140 years, Georgia Power has shared that mission, and we're proud to keep that partnership going for generations to come. And as we step into 2026, one thing is clear, just as Chris said, Georgia's future is bright. Our economy is strong, opportunity is growing, and we continue to lead the nation. As we all know, Georgia's been the #1 state for business for 12 straight years, and that's not just a ranking, it's proof of leadership, vision, and collaboration from everyone in this room. Last year alone, Georgia announced $26 billion in new investment and 23,000 private sector jobs. And at Georgia Power, we are creating thousands more skilled Georgia-based jobs to build new power plants, run nearly 1,000 miles of new transmission lines, and deliver the best customer service anywhere. Since day one, Georgia Power has been here for you, providing the power that you need to take care of your families, build your businesses, and grow your communities. And today, that commitment is stronger than ever. I assure you, Georgia Power is built to serve this unprecedented growth. This growth is good for Georgia, and we are making sure it benefits everyone. But if you're reading the headlines, you might see a different story. Concerns about data centers causing power shortages and increasing power costs. Well, in some regions of the country, that may be something to really worry about, but not in Georgia. Not in Georgia. Thanks to smart policies from our General Assembly and Georgia Public Service Commission that protect customers, encourage growth, and strengthen our vital energy infrastructure. For example, we're making sure that large energy users like data centers cover all the costs that they bring to the system. They pay more, so families and small businesses pay less. Also, that is worth applauding. And also, we're ensuring continued high levels of reliability by adding nearly 10,000 megawatts of new resources, natural gas, solar, battery storage, as well as reinvesting in Vogtle Units 1 and 2, the original units, to allow those units to produce more electricity. We know energy costs are an important part of an increasingly tight budget for Georgia families and businesses. So last year, we worked with our Public Service Commission to take 2 actions that will help all of our customers. First, we agreed to freeze our base rates for 3 years. Second, when that freeze ends, we agreed to a plan that will save the typical residential customer $102 a year. And I'm excited to tell you this morning that we're not stopping there. Next month, we'll make 2 more filings, which will collectively lower rates starting in June 2026. And by the way, I know you know that Georgia is now the top state in the country for data centers, surpassing Virginia in 2024 as the fastest growing market. And we're one of the few, and maybe the only state lowering rates. So again, when you hear about rising rates or concerns about reliability issues, please remember, not in Georgia. And now, it's truly an honor to introduce a leader who understands that progress happens when people come together. Speaker John Burns has dedicated his career to serving the people of Georgia with integrity and purpose. Whether he's in his hometown of Newington or traveling across the state, he's listening, learning, and working to make Georgia stronger. I've had the privilege of seeing that commitment firsthand. When I'm out meeting with our employees who power this great state, I often cross paths with the speaker doing the same, engaging with Georgians to understand their needs and champion their voices. And if you need proof of his leadership in action, just look back at Hurricane Helene. Speaker Burns was everywhere and doing everything possible to ensure our fellow Georgians received the help they need during one of our most trying times. He leads by example, and his steady hand has guided the House through times of growth and change. And I can't talk about Speaker Burns without recognizing his wife, Ms. Dale. Ms. Dale, thank you for your tireless efforts to advance child literacy here in our state. Your passion, thank you. Your passion is inspiring and will impact generations to come. And with that, won't you please all welcome Georgia's 75th Speaker of the House, Speaker John Burns.
What a crowd. Well, good morning, everyone. I bet y'all know what I know. It's a great day to be a Georgian, isn't it? No doubt. Thank you, Kim Green, for that kind introduction. Thank you for your leadership with Georgia Power. Thank you for caring about your employees. Thank you for caring about our business community. But most importantly, thank you for caring about our neighbors and what your company is doing to make life affordable here in Georgia. We most appreciative of your efforts, and thanks for your friendship as well. I also want to mention something this morning. I want to thank Governor Brian Kemp, First Lady Marty Kemp, and the entire Kemp family for what they've meant to our state, not just over the last 8 years, but all the years of his service to the people of Georgia. Governor Kemp, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your steadfast leadership through some of the most turbulent times in our history. We appreciate you personally, and we appreciate you for your leadership and what you've done for the people and what you will continue to do. You're not done yet for the people of Georgia. Thank you, Governor Kemp. It's certainly a great day to be back here in one of our state's premier venues, right? Thanks to Mr. Blank and his team for having us. You know, there was a big game here the other night, and Georgia might not have been playing in it, but I think we can still be very proud since a former Georgian, Dr. Pamela Whitten, took over as the president of the University of Indiana and led the Hoosiers to the playoffs. They're doing great. Maybe one more time. And hey, we all know there's always next year, right? We'll be working on that. You know, today we're setting the stage for what will undoubtedly be another year of historic success for Georgia. We've been hearing about that so far this morning. I want to thank Chris Clark and the entire Georgia Chamber team for the incredible work they have done to make this gathering possible, and for their advocacy on behalf of our statewide business community. I also want to thank each of the local chambers that are in attendance this morning, which are closest to the businesses and communities we all strive to uplift and are invaluable when it comes to strengthening the economy of our entire state. Now, what a year Georgia had in 2025. Now, I've been around for just a few years, and I can say without a doubt that the last legislative session was one of the most meaningful and impactful sessions for Georgia taxpayers, families, students, and companies. Together, the Georgia House worked alongside our great governor, Governor Kemp, and our friends in the Senate to accomplish some historic wins for hardworking Georgians and the businesses that employ them. Whether it was income tax reductions, licensure reform, investments in health care, school safety, literacy, and public safety, we delivered results on the issues you told us matter most. And this year will be no different. We are laser focused on keeping Georgia the very best place in this nation to live, work, raise a family, and do business for generations to come. We believe we will accomplish that by making life and the cost of doing business more affordable for every family and company here in our state. The House worked on an issue last year that I think you may know a little about. It was mentioned earlier, and that's lawsuit reform. I'm proud of the effort the House made to do what we always do, deal with the facts and make sure we get it right. And we're already seeing the efforts, that tremendous effort pay off. In the last few months alone, 3 major insurance companies have announced rate cuts. And we're hearing every day from underwriters who are coming back into the state and providing coverage here in Georgia. This year, the House is committed to further addressing the cost and accessibility of insurance. Chairman Matt Reeves and the Blue Ribbon Study Committee on Insurance Rates have met across this entire state. And they will be working with Insurance Commissioner John King, my friend, thank you, Commissioner King, to ensure that Commissioner King has all the tools working with us in his toolbox to increase transparency and accountability in our insurance markets. We're also committed to strengthening transparency and accountability within our financial institutions in Georgia. This year, Chairman Noel Williams will put forward measures to protect Georgia businesses, consumers, and investors from financial fraud and abuse. Next, we're going to continue delivering tax relief for hardworking Georgians. And we're going to start where it matters most, at home. Our homes are our most valuable and cherished property. They're where we put down roots, raise our families, and build our lives. For most Georgians, our homes are the single largest investment we will make in our lifetime. And no one should ever face the loss of their home place because they can't afford to pay rent to the government. Over the last several years, property valuations skyrocketed, while millage rates have remained stagnant or even increased, driving property taxes to excessive and unsustainable levels. In 2024, the House put property tax relief on the ballot across this state. The measure was approved overwhelmingly by voters in every single county. Despite this, over 300 local governments voted to opt out of the measure. And some local governments have proposed or approved further property tax increases ranging anywhere from 6 to upwards of 158% in a single year. Not only is that unfair for Georgia homeowners, again, that is not sustainable. This year, the House will put forward legislation enabling the elimination of the homestead property tax statewide. Now, let me be clear. I agree. Now, let me be clear. No one cares more about maintaining strong schools, public safety, and essential services than the members of the Georgia House. That hasn't changed and will be clearly reflected in our proposal. Home ownership is one of the bedrocks of the American dream, and rising property taxes are just one of the barriers keeping many Georgians from realizing that dream. For too many families in our state, the cost of purchasing or building a home has put ownership out of reach. This doesn't just impact potential home buyers, it's also a workforce development issue, hurting businesses, job creators, and local economies. The House has expanded resources for the Georgia Dream Down Payment and Mortgage Assistance Program for first-time home buyers. But we know that overly burdensome red tape and regulations are significant drivers of increased housing costs. In fact, 25 to 30% of the cost of building a new home can be directly attributed to government regulation. Now, working with local governments, local communities, local leaders, the House will prioritize legislation that cuts through red tape and streamlines that regulatory process, making home ownership affordable and attainable for families throughout the state. Thank you. Now, there's nothing more important to our quality of life than our health. And that's why increasing access to quality, affordable health care for Georgians will remain one of our top priorities. We can't address health care access and affordability without ensuring we address our state's health care workforce shortage. Because access to quality care begins on our ability to attract, train, and retain doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals to practice here in Georgia. We can and we will continue to invest dollars in health care. But without a workforce, that care will continue to remain out of reach for many Georgians. I'm proud of what we've already accomplished to create world-class medical education programs across this state. The House has championed $50 million for a new medical school at the University of Georgia. care will continue to remain out of reach for many Georgians. I'm proud of what we've already accomplished to create world-class medical education programs across this state. The House has championed $50 million for a new medical school at the University of Georgia. Crisis. In Georgia, our home, only 1 in 3 students can read proficiently by the time they leave the 3rd grade. Let me say that again. 1 in 3. That's unacceptable. Our state is excelling in so many areas. We've heard about many of them this morning. But it frustrates me that we're doing so poorly when it comes to reading. Especially when I think about the fact that we're being outperformed by our neighbors, by our friends in Alabama, our friends in Mississippi. If they can do something about literacy, then so can we. And I'm willing to bet we can do it better, and we will do it better. We must do better for the future of our children and our state. It's about Georgia's future. I'm not sure if our problem is curriculum, bureaucracy, lack of funds, but hear me one last time. 1 in 3 is unacceptable. The House has championed a number of literacy-focused measures that have strengthened curriculum, increased accessibility to screenings for learning challenges, expanded continuing education resources for our teachers, and provided funding for additional literacy coaches in every research district in this state. This year, the House will continue building on that success by putting forward a plan to place a literacy coach in every single elementary school in Georgia. Giving our students, our future, further hands-on support when and where they need it the most. But you know, that's just the beginning. We know that there's more to be done, and it has to start earlier. My wife, Dale, good morning, Dale. It's good to see you this morning. She is a retired educator of over 30 years. And I can assure you that she still puts that experience to good use educating me on a number of important things, but especially literacy. We know that learning doesn't begin when children step into the classroom for the first time. It begins even before birth. In fact, 80% of a child's brain development occurs between the ages of 0 and 3. And 90% occurs by the age of 5. That means that too often, children are missing out on the most critical opportunities to build a strong foundation for learning. Ensuring that new parents have the knowledge and resources they need to set their children up for success from the start will be a top priority for the House this year. Just as we always do in the House, we will leave no stone unturned. We will be guided by the facts, and we will be unwavering in our dedication to tackling the most pressing issues facing our state to make life better, brighter, and more affordable for every family in every corner of Georgia. That is our mission, and the House intends to deliver. Thank you this morning for your attention. I want to ask the good Lord to bless each and every one in this room and continue to bless this great state of Georgia. Thank you so very much.
Good morning, everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce a leader who understands that Georgia's economic success is built on strong infrastructure, smart growth, and a competitive, predictable business climate. As Lieutenant Governor, Burt Jones plays a key role in shaping Georgia's policy priorities and working alongside business and industry leaders to support long-term investment, workforce development, and the infrastructure needed to deliver complex, large-scale projects across our state. His focus on economic competitiveness, regulatory reform, and small business growth helps ensure Georgia remains a place where companies can plan, build, and expand with confidence. Please join me in welcoming the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Burt Jones, and Moderator Boyd Pettit, Chair of our Governmental Affairs Council, to the stage.
All right, all right.
Well, Governor, good morning.
Good morning.
I feel good. How about you?
I do. I feel real good.
Like
This
that
crowd
music.
is still awake out there. Everybody
Yeah.
good? That's what I thought. It's good to be with you this morning, Boyd.
Thank you very much. And I can't say enough, Lieutenant Governor, about thanking you for being here with us this morning, taking the time to visit with this crowd and talk to us. I think back a little bit. We'll jump right in. I think back a little bit to joining the legislature myself, and I met a gentleman by the name of Bill Jones. I think you know him pretty well. It's your dad.
Absolutely.
And I had the pleasure of serving with him. I wouldn't take anything for that. And I remember watching you as you walked on at the University of Georgia and started playing football over there.
Right.
Very appropriate. Here we are on a football field today.
That's right.
As part of playing.
He always liked you too, Boyd.
Well.
Keep giving it to me now. So.
I appreciate that. Well, I remember you playing football, and I know every once in a while you take a little hit, or you might take a knock or a blind side or something like that. And, now I watch it appears the same thing happens when you run for office.
Politics is a contact sport, yeah. And during the Christmas season, I felt like I was on TV as much as Morgan and Morgan, So, yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you better be ready. You better buckle your shin straps. But you know what? I don't think they're ever shooting at the folks in last place, though. So we'll take it right there. So.
All right. Well, let's get started this morning. You just started the second year of your biennium.
Right.
And before we talk about 26, let's back up just a second, reflect on 25. Any unfinished business from your perspective that getting carried over to 26?
Well, we had a great session in 25. We've got school choice done. We had the fentanyl bill that we're going to talk about later that we got done. We lowered the state income tax again. We plan on doing that again this year. So there's a lot of great things that we got accomplished last year. But there's always leftover business that we'll need to tend to this year. But as far as our priorities in my office, we got a lot of them accomplished last year. So we'll be focused on what the Senate body, the caucus would like to do, and as well as what the House would like to see get done as well. So, but I'm excited about 26. I think it's going to be a good year. We've had a great working relationship with Governor Kemp and Speaker Burns, and I want to continue that, especially in the Governor Kemp's last year.
Well, great. And I'm going to ask you about some specifics in a minute, but Georgia competes with other states like Florida and Texas for jobs, for investment, talent. What sort of state policy, workforce initiatives are needed to ensure that Georgia remains the best place to live, work, and play?
Well, some of the things we've been focused on in my 3 years as Lieutenant Governor is workforce development with our college and career academies, our technical colleges, really trying to get businesses to partner with our local school systems. I always use two examples. One is Gulfstream there in Savannah, what they do with the public school system there and how they recruit early high school graduates to come and work at their facility, as well as construction company out of Hall County, Carol Daniels Construction up there. They do a great job of engaging with the local school systems and also creating the curriculum. Lost my microphone. Creating the curriculum that Somebody did that. Somebody trying to sabotage me up here, Boyd. But they help create curriculum that fits what they need there locally, and I think that's a big issue that we'll continue to do. I mean, when you go around the state, and I've been traveling the state a good bit right in the last 6 months, you know, the one thing that people want to talk about, number one, cost of living. That's probably the number one issue. But number two is, and when you're talking to businesses, it's, you know, workforce, you know,
Sure.
and trained workforce. And so we're not going to be able to import that. We need to grow that organically. And how you do that is in your K through 12 education systems, as well as your technical colleges, and that's been a big focus of ours in my 3 years as lieutenant governor, and will continue to be a focus of ours.
Well, we'll talk about another couple of areas that I know are important to you. Income tax has been in the news, been in the headlines, really,
Yep.
from the Senate during the interim. Rising property taxes and valuations, I should say,
Sure.
remain a concern for many Georgians.
Right.
Are there any, when I think about those as taxes, are there any other areas you expect the legislature to explore during this next session? Not necessarily sweeping reductions, but for transparency, predictability, process improvements, the things that would help homeowners and businesses.
Sure. Well, yeah, obviously, you know, I come from a business background, and so I'm well aware of the challenges that when you're in business, and as far as what it costs to do business, whether in local municipalities or counties or in state government, whatever it might be. And that has always been a focus of mine as far as limiting regulatory guidelines, cutting our costs of living, and that's why we're always focused, and I'm continuing to focus on state income tax. We've lowered it, going to continue to lower it. I'd like to see us give everybody a 5% raise, you know, but we're going to do that over time. But we're also going to tackle this session a property tax. 2 years ago, the Senate led on capping what a local county could charge on property taxes, and capping it at 3%. You know, our friends in the House, and I know they're coming around now, have didn't agree with us on our measure then, but I think we're going to get on the same page this year, because when you go around, that's what a lot of people are complaining about. You know, their homes are being assessed for, you know, double what they purchased them for, and they're looking, you know, and people can't budget for a 15 or 20% increase in their property taxes. There's no way to budget for that in your average household. So we need to address that, and I think we're going to get it done. So we're going to concentrate on the income tax, lowering it, and property tax, getting a handle on that, looking at insurance costs and everything else. Those are all things that are on people's mind right now. And so as legislators, it's our responsibility to focus on those issues that are, you know, concerning our constituents.
Well, you mentioned a minute ago fentanyl. Public safety obviously continues to be a priority of not only the Senate, but all the General Assembly. And following the 25 session, Governor Kemp signed a piece of legislation, Senate Bill 79, that you were intimately involved in, Fentanyl Eradication Act. What do you see as next steps in the Senate to strengthen prevention, enforcement, community safety surrounding this and other deadly drugs?
Yeah, obviously, and we're glad to have people who support public safety as much as our leadership as governor and the speaker do. And this is something, the fentanyl thing actually became very personal for us, because this sweet couple from Valdosta, Gus and Beth Walters, had a son named Austin that died because of fentanyl overdose. And it was something that, you know, young man, 20-something years old, by all accounts, just just a wonderful individual. And Senator Russ Goodman met these people because they lived in his district, obviously, in Valdosta, and brought them to us. And it just really, it tugged at your heartstrings, you know, to hear what had happened to them. And so we took that bill legislation to make the dealers more responsible, people who deal in these drugs that are very dangerous right now, and put in some real teeth, and actually, as far as from a criminal standpoint, and we actually had the first conviction of a dealer in that thing. But we've had this war on drugs for quite some time, and it's good to see that the Trump administration is being serious about going to the source of where a lot of this stuff is coming from. And so we want to partner with them. We want to continue to be tough on crime here in the state of Georgia, because look, everybody, people always want the same things. They want a safe place to live. They want educational opportunities. They want economic opportunities, and they want a good place that they can raise and build a business and raise their family. And that's what Georgia has represented for the last 20 years. And so we want to continue to do those things and offer those same opportunities in the future.
You mentioned raising families, and I talk about my knowledge of your family for so many years and knowing you. But we'll leave taxes and public safety for a second. All across our state, foster care system, I know is of interest to you. Their long-term outcomes as a result of children placed in foster care. We think about community and workforce, but again, in particular, children in foster care have been a focus of yours. What progress, I know there was progress made in 25. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
And then what reforms are you trying to advance for 26?
Well, when I got elected as lieutenant governor, one of the first things that I did, obviously I served in the Senate before that, but when I got elected lieutenant governor, one of the committees that I set up was a Children's and Families Committee. And the whole purpose was to focus on foster care, focus on affordability of daycare, and also focus on things that matter to families, really, quite frankly. And Senator Kate Kirkpatrick, Dr. Kate Kirkpatrick is the one who has chaired that committee since its inception. And we've done a lot of work in that arena, particularly around the DFACS and foster care system, which obviously needed some attention, and it will always need attention. So you always have to be mindful of it. But I was proud that soon after we established that, got with the commissioner of Children's Services and asked her, what. We've got 70-something kids that are staying in hotels right now. What do we need to do to eliminate that? And she gave me exactly what resources they needed, and we made that happen. And within 60 days, we had every child out of hotels, and we had them placed in homes. But I will also tell you, though, one of the biggest needs that we have in the foster care system is parents, people who actually take on foster children, and I know that's a big responsibility, and it's tough on a lot of families. But we need more children, and something that we did when we passed the Promise Scholarship, which was the voucher program for children in bad school situations. Well, another thing that we did, the caveat to it was, if you will be a foster parent, not only will that foster child be eligible for the Promise Scholarship, but all of your biological children will be eligible for that Promise Scholarship. So that gives them an opportunity to send all their children to the same school, even the foster children that they take on. And that's something that I, as a father myself, I know how difficult it is to raise children. I've got teenagers right now, so y'all feel me that have teenagers, and I can tell you that when you have families that will take on that responsibility, that's a huge gift, and it gives those kids the opportunity, because those kids can't help. Kids in our foster care system can't help the situation that they were raised in or born into, and so we need to do everything we can to help protect those children and also help give them the best opportunity for the future.
Just one quick closing question. Time's about up, but looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity for Georgia over the next few years?
Yeah, you're always going to have challenges, no matter how good of a year you've had or how good of a run that you've had. We've had a 20-year pretty spectacular run here in the state of Georgia. In fact, I was reading something the other day, in the last 10 years, the fastest growing states in the country are Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. And the ones who've lost in population are New York, California, Illinois, And I think the biggest challenge we have to do is we have to remind people, the reason why states like Georgia has been the #1 place to do business, the reason why people have been coming here literally in droves to set up residency here is because they like the environment. And it's because of the leadership that we've had, not just at the governor level, but also at the legislative level. We've had good common sense, business-minded leadership with Governor Kemp, before him, Governor Nathan Deal, before him, Governor Sonny Perdue. And we've had a legislative body that has been very good to work with through those years. So I think you have to remind people that, it didn't just happen overnight. And it didn't happen because we didn't have good policies in place and a good structure and that made a good environment. So whether you're going around the state, I don't know if y'all know, but I'm running for governor, and I think I have the best plan to continue that process, because I am a business guy. I have served in the legislature, and I know what it takes not only to build a strong economy, but also build a state that has educational opportunities as well as a bright future forward. So,
Well, Governor, thank you, family, for the friendship.
Always a
for years.
pleasure.
Always a pleasure to be with you. Would you please join me in thanking Lieutenant
Thank you.
Governor
I
Burt
appreciate
Jones for
everyone
being
here.
with us this morning?
We'll come see you, man. Good to see you, man. Appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor Jones, for your leadership and service to Georgia. Georgia's economic success is built on partnership, because our elected leaders see the business community as a key partner in building strong communities. One of the most consistent drivers of that success is our next speaker, Governor Brian Kemp. As a business owner himself, Governor Kemp understands that when our economy thrives, it benefits families and communities across the state. We're also fortunate to have a governor and first lady who are deeply committed to creating opportunity and preparing Georgia for the future. Together, Governor and the First Lady, Marty Kemp, have taken Georgia's story to the world, attracting record investment and growth. The results speak for themselves. Georgia continues to set the standard for economic success. On behalf of all of us here today, thank you for your leadership and your commitment to every corner and citizen of the state of Georgia.
morning. Thank y'all so much. Good morning, and thank you so much. Stuart, thank you for the kind words and for your leadership. As y'all know, the greatest First Lady in the country, Marty Kemp's with us this morning. What a great tribute to how hard she and the girls have worked to support me in this endeavor. And we're both grateful for the look back at the years now behind us, outside of how young I looked back in 2019. We also appreciate your partnership in overcoming the challenges that those years brought to our state, but also for the successes that we achieved by working together. Here at the start of another legislative session, the 8th that my family and I have experienced in the governor's office, we're truly honored to be serving with Lieutenant Governor Jones, Speaker Burns, my fellow constitutional officers, members of the General Assembly. Appreciate Mayor Dickens and so many elected and community leaders from all across our state. I also want to thank Chris Clark and the Georgia Chamber team for again putting in the work to make Georgia's largest known breakfast possible. Together over these past 7 years since I took office, as you saw in the video, we have brought historic jobs and opportunity to our state. We've also invested in rural Georgia in an unprecedented way. And there's no question we led the Great Recovery and have built the strongest state economy Georgia's ever seen. We've also maintained our coveted ranking as the #1 state for business and celebrated, even more importantly, in my opinion, more Georgians working than ever before in our state's history. We've also, working with the General Assembly, returned billions and billions of taxpayer dollars back to hardworking families and businesses. We've broken new records for trade and movement of goods through our ports, the fastest growing on the East Coast, all while positioning Georgia as the top state for talent. But I will tell you, we did not get here by allowing ourselves to get distracted. We didn't break records and achieve new heights by letting pundits and political noise drive the conversation, nor did we veer off track by looking in the rearview mirror. What we did is what all elected officials should do. We listened to the people and we put them first. Whether it's election year or not, that should always remain our focus. And the people have spoken. They have told us clearly and loudly that they want us to focus on the future, on making it easier for their children and grandchildren to achieve the American dream. While many politicians are all of a sudden talking about affordability, here in Georgia, we've been actually doing something about it, long before it was a useful talking point. We've repeatedly cut taxes, provided a homestead tax exemption and multiple tax rebates, and suspended the state gas tax in times of the highest inflation that we've ever seen in our country, or during terrible natural disasters. All told, we have returned over $9.7 billion to the taxpayers. And as you'll hear in my State of the State address tomorrow, making everyday life more affordable for hardworking Georgians will continue to be my top priority this legislative session, because I believe that Georgians know better than politicians how to spend their money. On top of those relief measures included in prior budgets, I believe it's important for us to look back at the progress we've made since the passage of the largest, most comprehensive tort reform legislation in our state's history. I again want to thank the members of the General Assembly who were with us on those tough votes, because we are now seeing, as the Speaker mentioned, the benefits of those new laws coming to fruition. In just the last few months, Commissioner John King has announced 3 auto insurers are lowering their rates in 2026. Those are real monthly savings for families across our state. And I believe that we're just in the beginning stages of creating a more stable marketplace for insurers to provide vital services to thousands of small businesses and families in Georgia. I again want to thank Commissioner King and his team, the members of the General Assembly, you all, the Georgia Chamber, and other local chambers throughout the state, and other coalition partners who made all this possible. For those of you that stuck with us on these tough votes, and for their continued work to bring down costs for hardworking Georgians. But we also know that one victory does not guarantee future results. And I challenge all of our state's job creators to ensure our success on tort reform in 2025 does not die a death by 1,000 cuts in the legislative sessions to come. It is more important to support the right candidates and continue advocating for sound policies that put the people of our state first in the years ahead. But our efforts to keep Georgia the best place to live, work, and raise a family extends outside of the Gold Dome as well. As we continue to attract record jobs, help existing Georgia businesses, and bring historic investments to all parts of our state, Georgia has taken a different path than some of our neighbors and other states across the country when it comes to reliable, affordable energy. You heard a little about this earlier when Kim Green was speaking. While other states are bracing for significant rate increases, our Public Service Commission approved a 3-year rate freeze for Georgia Power customers, and just recently paved the way for additional savings on customers' monthly bills, all while making our state a national leader in renewable and reliable energy. They're doing it by encouraging smart, locally driven growth and investment, and ensuring that large load customers pay more. If we want to continue our run as the top state for business, that goal cannot be accomplished without smart, long-term investments in our energy grid. Because every job creator, family, and hardworking Georgia needs to know when they flip that light switch that it will work and it won't break the bank. And through our state's partnership with Georgia Power, our EMCs, and other utility providers, that is exactly what we're delivering here in the Peach State. One final important point on this issue. Now that the Atlanta paper has gone digital only, maybe they will have more resources to tell both sides of this story, not just the propaganda of special interest groups sponsoring their articles. We're also keeping an eye on the future and the growing needs of Georgia, especially as more and more businesses and people move to our state. As I've said before, there are now more Georgians working than ever before. And if you've driven on Georgia's major highways on the way to work, especially in metro Atlanta, you've seen firsthand the bumper-to-bumper traffic. Road congestion doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, only if you're running late to work or to an appointment or to your kid's ball game. It costs consumers time with their loved ones and money. It costs businesses valuable production output. And it costs the entire state potential economic development projects. The most recent report from the major roadway analytics firms NREX, out just last month, named Atlanta the 7th worst city in the country for road congestion. By their calculations, hours lost to traffic in metro Atlanta increased by 23% just in the last 2 years alone, the third highest increase in the country. By their estimates, commuters into and out of our capital city lost at least 75 hours to traffic at a cost of over $1,400 per person. These issues are also undermining our economic development prospects, with business leaders questioning whether their workers will want to live and commute in that environment. When it comes to traffic congestion, we cannot let our competitors have the upper hand. and I believe that we must double down on previous historic investments that my administration and the General Assembly have made in order to ensure Georgia does not fall behind. So today I'm announcing that my budget proposal will invest an additional $1.8 billion to increase roadway capacity in one of Georgia's most congested corridors, I-75 South in Henry County. With these funds, we will construct dedicated express lanes for both the north and southbound directions. Nearly 200,000, I can tell the people that are commuting from Henry County every morning. Nearly 200,000 vehicles a day travel this major artery that connects Georgians with key business hubs in much of our state. A quarter of those vehicles are trucks hauling goods, more than most major highways. That is a sign of a strong and active economy, no doubt. But without enough road capacity, it creates bottlenecks and slowdowns. Currently, 45 to 60% of commuters can't get in the express lanes when they need them the most. This funding will enable GDOT and CERTA to address those issues head on. Our initial estimates indicate that once these express lanes are completed, as much as 70% more vehicles will be able to pass through that corridor during the rush hours. That's a great return on investment for our state. Today, I'm also announcing an additional $200 million investment to continue the improvements already underway along Georgia 316, known as the University Parkway. With incredible growth all along this state route from Gwinnett County to Athens, we know how great the need is to turn this state route into a true, safe expressway. It shouldn't take you a full afternoon to get from Athens to Atlanta or vice versa. That's why this funding, we know the people from Barrow and Oconee County. That's why this funding will go toward the ongoing upgrades of intersections to interchanges, overpasses, and other safer connections. We aren't just taking into account our interstates and major highways, though. This year, we will again make historic investments in the community-level road projects through the Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant Program. In prior years, we put a total of $515 million into these grants, doubling our initial investments and putting more money toward local projects than ever before in the history of our state. This year, I'm proposing that we do it again with an additional $250 million in funding for local road projects. And just as before, there will be no match required by local governments. Rural communities deserve every bit as much attention as our big cities, and this third round of LMIG funding will fulfill that promise to treat all our local communities fairly. On top of all of this, we will add another $100 million to strengthen and improve bridges across the state and our rural communities. Making sure those bridges are safe and reliable is both the right thing to do for those who live in those rural areas, but will also support our state's economy. All of this additional funding for transportation projects is certainly needed, but it also has the added benefit of keeping Georgians working in the years to come. That is the type of long-term and strategic approach that we have taken when it comes to generational infrastructure investments like this. And those projects are a direct result of our conservative approach to budgeting. We've been able to make good use of one-time funds by growing and strengthening our infrastructure without adding liabilities that our children and our grandchildren will have to pay for. We're going to do the same thing this year with energy infrastructure, further meeting an undeniable need at a critical time. My amended budget proposal will include $35 million in one-time money to create a natural gas infrastructure improvement fund within the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority following the passage of Senate Bill 13 last year. These funds will particularly benefit rural Georgia communities, improving the quality of life for those Georgians and growing their ability to attract and meet the needs of economic development projects. All told, got the South Georgia contingent in the middle of the room. All told, since I first took office, with this latest funding, we will have invested roughly $6 billion in transportation, water, and energy infrastructure projects across the state that actually move the needle on pressing issues facing every Georgian in both large and small communities. I again want to thank the members of the General Assembly for their support on these endeavors. And again mention that while some politicians across the country are suddenly talking about affordability and quality of life, in Georgia, we've been actually doing something about it. The same can be said of our investments in education and workforce training. We coupled transformational funding with meaningful policies that put Georgians first. From the nation-leading Georgia Match program to the top state for talent package we passed in 2024, to the measures we secured in prior years. All of this was made possible because we stopped operating behind walls and silos. We brought primary, secondary, and post-secondary education policymakers together with business and innovation leaders to collaborate on the future of education and workforce development in our state. At no other time in Georgia history have those stakeholders worked so closely, developing a first-of-its-kind uniform plan on these issues. Building on those successes in the coming days, my administration will propose the Education and Workforce Strategy Act. It will ensure the unprecedented collaboration between the university and technical college systems, the Georgia Department of Education, and others live on, long after many of us today are no longer in the positions that we currently occupy. A great example of that partnership is the ongoing effort around articulation agreements between the university and technical college systems. Last year, as you remember, we announced the first such compact in the critical field of nursing, directly addressing a major workforce need in our state. Today, I'm thankful to be able to announce 3 new articulation agreements between our higher ed systems in the fields of teacher preparation, cybersecurity, and accounting. These types of compacts are not easy. They require lots of planning and adjustments to create seamless paths for Georgia students. So I want to thank Chancellor Perdue, Commissioner Dozier, and both of their teams for working so hard to turn the promise we made at last year's Workforce Summit to deliver on more agreements into a promise that has been kept. Building on this good work and the great success we're seeing with the Georgia Match program, this year we will also establish a cutting-edge Career Navigator application designed to connect students, job seekers, and employers. It will help ensure Georgia workers can fill the opportunities already open or on their way to communities across the state, further clearing the path to economic mobility. These measures are all designed with the same mindset my administration has brought to every discussion on education and workforce. Georgians should have the opportunity to succeed no matter their zip code. That's a commitment shared by our Labor Commissioner, Barbara Rivera Holmes, and I want to thank her and her team for what they're doing to connect Georgians in every part of the state, including our rural areas, with the jobs that are coming to their communities. That same commitment to empowering Georgians with opportunity, no matter where they live, is why I'm also announcing for the first time publicly the creation of a new program designed to tackle homelessness right here in our capital city and in other urban areas across the state. Known as the Homelessness Response Grant, the state will make a one-time investment of $50 million that will be coupled with other funds from public, private, and non-profit partners to launch this initiative. Through very targeted use of funds, this grant will act as a force multiplier to complement the good work already underway by Mayor Dickens and other champions on this challenging issue. Awards will go to local governments and nonprofit organizations addressing street-level homelessness in Georgia, and it will ensure that every stakeholder has equal skin in the game. The Rural Workforce Housing Grant similarly requires a match from partners, and we have seen great success in tackling workforce housing affordability through that program. And just like the other initiatives we've launched over the years, the Homelessness Response Grant isn't a handout program with limited impact or no mechanism for improving someone's conditions. It will be a carefully designed program to help those experiencing homelessness move to greater stability and economic mobility. Resources will go to emergency shelter and transitional housing, street outreach and engagement teams, and wraparound services like mental health care, drug rehab, and other needs. As I've said, we have seen great leadership from Mayor Dickens and others on this issue. And when people from around the world visit our capital city in the coming months for our FIFA World Cup, they will not only see a state with a thriving economy, but also one that cares about its people and helps those willing and able to work for it access those opportunities. As you know, this summer, Georgia will host just as many people, if not more, than we did in the 1996 Olympics. And like any good Southerner, we will work to put our best foot forward for our guests. We were elected to stay focused on the issues that actually matters to those that we serve. For those who can think of nothing else but the upcoming election, let me share a word of advice. If you fail to listen to the people, you will fail to earn their vote. So let's stay focused on the future, where anyone who wants to work for a better life can achieve it here in the best state for opportunity. Let's keep chopping to say the best state in the country to live, work, and raise a family. It has been an honor for Marty and I to know you all, work with you, and we're looking forward to our continued service here in our last year. God bless you.
Thank you. All right, another round of applause for our speaker, our Lieutenant Governor, and most importantly, Miss Marty. I said a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your investment, for what you do for this state. We've now invited all the candidates that are running statewide office to join you in the Delta Club for a candidate meet and greet. I hope you'll take that opportunity to spend some time and get to know them. And we look forward to seeing you at our State of Higher Ed and State of Economic Development. God bless Georgia. God bless y'all. Thank you.